Okay, so we're moving on to my next movie in my 61 movies of Halloween review series. I'm having fun. I'm having fun talking about some movies I haven't seen and then some oldies, some favorites, some classics, some old and new gems in the horror genre. And I'm continuing it today with urban legends. Looking back at my content, like over the past like 2 to 3 years, however long I've been doing YouTube, I am shocked. I am surprised I have not reviewed Urban Legends because this is one of my favorite slasher movies. Like along with Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, like all of the big like three franchises. I'm shocked how I have not reviewed this movie yet. So now that wish is finally happening tonight. I'm finally getting around to reviewing a movie I've been wanting to do a review on for quite some time, and I've seen Urban Legend a number of times, over the years, and like I said, this is one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite movies. This is my favorite subgenre of horror. Like I love slasher movies. I love those hack and slash movies that take place, at a summer camp, and there's just something like great about them. So yeah, it was bound to happen. I was bound to talk about Urban Legend, and I'm glad that I can review this movie during my 61 movies of Halloween review series. And so now, jumping right into Urban Legend, watching it this viewing, like there were a few details that I noticed which upon previous viewings of this film I haven't noticed, and the biggest one being the character in the opening sequence of this movie, Michelle Mancini. Michelle Mancini? Don Mancini? I see what you did there, movie. I see what you did there. Sneaky reference there. And then there's also a throwback or a reference to When a Stranger Calls, one of my favourite remakes. And that's another movie I'm definitely adding onto my October list. I'm definitely going to get around because that's a remake that gets a shit ton of hate, and I'm going to do that movie fucking justice. That was my introduction to horror, so I'm definitely going to review When a Stranger Calls, the 2006 remake, this month. And so there's just so many like references and throwbacks to other slasher and home invasion thrillers, and it's like there were so many details that I noticed upon this viewing, which I will talk more about that as we get more into this review. So you're getting into what I like, and starting off at the beginning, like the opening sequence is probably my biggest positive. This movie opens. This movie opens on a great note. This is a perfect introduction to a slash movie. It instantly builds suspense. You instantly know who the threat of the movie is and who the main villain is. And it's such a thrilling and white knuckling like opening sequence. Like you are instantly grabbed by the throat and you're put into the shit. And like this opening sequence sets up the story that goes on at this university. Like this murder is a big story in the university news report, played by Jared Leto, which this is his job. This is how he makes a living. Is he makes reports, and he does interviews with like university students, getting their insight, on what their feelings are about this person that died. And you see the type of character Jared Leto is. Which, speaking of Jared Leto, I think this was his first acting role. Like I might be wrong there, but he is not that bad in this movie. A lot of people say Jared Leto isn't that good. Like I actually enjoyed his performance. Like I enjoyed everyone's performance in this for the most part. Like watching it, and having the movie fresh in my mind. There are a few performances that I would say are dated. Tara Reid's performance, like as much as she is attractive, her performance in certain sequences throughout this movie, it does not work anymore. It's so dated. She gives a very over the top and loud performance, and it's just like I find her performance really hard to believe. But yeah, sticking with the positives. The other positive I like is the actual killer costume. It's very simple and it's very effective, because it seems like this is a very popular coat that a lot of people at this university have. Like a lot of students have. The principal, Professor Wexler, portrayed by the one and only Robert Englund, and yeah, he's in this movie. He has a short role as one of the teachers in the film, along with Brad Dourif, who he's the gas station guy in the opening sequence. I didn't know that was him until I watched this movie. The first few times I watched this, I didn't notice that was Brad Dourif. But then I think it was my last viewing of this movie, which was maybe last year sometime. I was just like, oh shit, that's Brad Dourif. But yeah, you have all these horror icons in the one movie. You have Freddy Krueger, you have Chucky in the same movie together. Like, to me, that is horror gold. Like, that is to have two of the biggest franchises in the one movie playing different characters here. That's amazing. That's amazing to me. But yeah, and so yeah, Professor Wexler, he has the same coat, the same winter coat as the killer does, and the janitor, he has the same coat, and so it adds to this level of anybody is a suspect. Anybody is a suspect because they all have the same coat, because everybody this movie is called Urban Legend because all the kills that you see throughout the movie are based and portrayed on real urban legends that are told throughout the movie. And I thought that was such a stylistic approach for this movie, where some of the deaths in this movie actually look like suicides. And it's so the writing, it's, while some of it is dated, for the most part it is still spot on. The way I think Kellen Williamson wrote this movie, the way that he kind of sets up certain characters to be the killer, because everybody knows what the killer looks like. Everybody has their own urban legend, if you will, on what this killer looks like, and now that everybody has this coat, a majority of this university, from what we see from our main characters and some of our side characters, anybody can be a suspect. And another major positive I have got to give to Urban Legend is the setup and the build up of Professor Wexler. What they did here, he isn't in this movie a whole lot, but how the writing for him being the killer, I was convinced. I knew who the killer was because I've seen this movie countless times, but I kind of went into it with fresh eyes, and I was so convinced that Professor Wexler was the killer because they find that secret doorway, with the exact axe that the killer has, the exact same coat. It's very suspicious how there's this other door in his office. To me, I find that weird. Why not just put it in your office? I can kind of understand why, but why do you need two sections of your office to have one with props and then one with your office, books and shit and whatever else you have in an office, But yeah, I really liked how the way that they set him up to be the killer. But yeah, I thought that was brilliant writing, and it's such a simple costume, but it's an effective costume, and it worked for this movie damn well. And so now, talking about the kills in this movie, the kills the kills aren't anything special. There are some great ones, like the one in the opening scene with the girl getting decapitated, and then there's another kill at the end that takes place in a car, which I thought was pretty cool. But for the most part, like these kills aren't gory or overly gruesome. Like they're pretty basic. A lot of them are off screen. You see the aftermath of a lot of the gore. So a lot of the gore that you do see in the movie, it is what you see in the aftermath of the kill and the actual dead body of that victim, which. I thought this movie, I feel like it definitely could have benefited from a few gory sequences, because for the most part there is very minimal gore in this movie. Like there's a few shots at the end where where we see the Brenda, where we see her cutting into the main character's like stomach and all that, and there's a few close-up shots there, but for the most part this film does not have a whole lot of gore in it. But does that take away from the fun of these kills? No, I think these are still really creative kills, because just them being based off an urban legend, like I thought that was such a great approach for these kills, and I thought it was all executed really well in this movie. And now getting on to the climax of this movie, so we find out Brenda was the killer, which there are a few clues, especially in the third act, that do give away that Brenda is the killer, because her character actually dies in the in the cornfield or whatever it is, the cornfield or the long grass, and you hear her scream in the distance, and then you never see her again. She just disappears. And that got me thinking, because Brenda, she's the only character that does get killed like off screen. Like you like in the other kills, you actually see the axe make contact with the body. Like you don't actually see, like it's all kind of cut to the axe, and then it does different angles, so you don't actually see the gore. But it films them in a way where you actually see the killer. Where you see the killer actually killing them, whether that's through sound design or different angles. Brenda, she was the only character that did get killed off screen, and so that really made me think that she is the killer. And there are a few other hints throughout the movie that do lead to her being the killer. And as far as her motivation, to me, it makes sense why she's pissed at her best friend and why she was her best friend from the beginning. To me, that makes sense, especially coming from a psychopath like herself. I can see why she would want to make friends with the girl that she's going to be tormenting and chasing after for the next 90 minutes. To me, I can see why that's a relationship that she would want to develop before starting her killing spree. And then as far as the whole side story of her boyfriend getting killed by the flashlight urban legend, by the the high beams urban legend that is introduced in this movie, that I can buy as well. I thought it was well written and well executed for the most part. It's the only thing I don't get. The only thing I don't get is I can see why she's after the main character, but she wasn't the one driving. And there's a piece of dialogue. There's a piece of dialogue that actually kind of has that conversation with her. But it's just, I can kind of see why, but why particularly torment her when really you should be getting the person who is driving the car. And she even said, I think in the movie, that she tried to stop her from doing it. So technically this isn't her fault. I can see from the killer's point of view that yes, this is her fault because she was in the car and this is her car and all of that. But she was the one who was trying to stop her. But then there was, because in the flashback she explains that that she tried to stop her, but then she ended up sitting there. So I mean, I guess it is her fault, but I don't know. That's just like that really isn't even a problem. That's more just, I guess, a compliment. I guess a comment towards the movie. Another thing is when the killer, I guess, gets shot out the window. How the fuck is she alive? How the fuck does she end up in the back of the car? Like, because yeah, she gets shot out the window. So for one, she would die of blood loss, and moving around too much, I'm pretty sure it would not be good for her. And then two, like that was a pretty fair height. That was a pretty fair height that she dropped from. And I mean, depending on how she landed, like she would, like either her back or her legs would be broken. Like she would have a few broken bones probably from that type of a landing, because she was like 5 stories up. So like 4 or 5 stories up. I don't exactly remember how many there was. I think it was a 2-story house actually. So I think, yeah, she only dropped from 2 stories. From the outside, it looks more. But if I remember it correctly, the inside of the house, it had 1 level, and then there was a second level, which, because it had multiple bedrooms, so that's why from the outside it looks much bigger. But yeah, she, I'm sure she would die from that. Like I said, depending on her landing. But then the twist of this movie is she's still alive. Which hitting the water from her height, and being being tossed through the glass after like abruptly putting on the brakes, she would die from blood loss, which she would have really started to die from that with the bullets from when she fell out of the building. Another thing is, why, like, this isn't a complaint on this movie, this is a complaint on the sequel, which unfortunately I have seen, and it's complete shit. It's complete shit. It is an awful movie. It is an awful movie. Like I could go on for 2 hours, but I'm not going to rant about Urban Legends 2 Final Cut. But yeah, that really is a bad movie. That's not good. Why didn't this movie just make like a direct sequel? Because obviously at the end of this movie, Brenda's still alive. She's in that. She's in the group of students who are discussing Urban Legends in the final scene of this movie. So she's there. She's alive. Why didn't you make fucking Urban Legends 2 Final Cut a direct sequel to this? Because obviously it ends like setting up for a sequel of her coming back. So it's okay, here's the thing. It would have, even if they made Brenda maybe like the side killer in Urban Legends 2 Final Cut. Even if they did that instead of the whole fucking drama director, if I remember it correct, he was the killer in Final Cut. Such a bad reveal. Why is she not in like Urban Legends 2? Because it is a sequel. So, and from memory, I only saw that movie once, but if I'm remembering it correct, she isn't mentioned. Like the original cast isn't in that movie at all. Like it's a completely new story, new set of characters, new story, new fucking everything. Why didn't they make, like, that would have made that reveal in Final Cut so much better if Brenda was the side killer along with the drama teacher. That would have just made that reveal so much better, because at least there would be some connection to the first movie. But Urban Legends 2 Final Cut, it doesn't connect to this movie at all. And just watching this viewing, like actually seeing, because like I didn't watch Urban Legends 2 Final Cut until last year, and I regret, believe me, I regret every minute that I spent watching that movie. Like concept, like aside from the concept of that movie, everything else kills. Cinematography, acting, direction, writing, terrible. It's not good. I may review Urban Legends 3 Bloody Mary, because I actually haven't seen that one. If you guys have seen Urban Legends, Free Bloody Mary. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you think it's something that I would like. Liking the first movie, hating the second. Do you think the third one would be a step up? Is it on the same level of good as this first movie is, or is it? I mean, I've heard quite bad things about it, but sometimes I usually have different opinions to what other people think. Like there's a lot of movies I've reviewed on my channel, which are the critics and like movie audiences hate. But I've ended up, really liking it. I've been a defender of that movie. So, yeah, who knows? I may or may not review Urban Legends Free Bloody Mary. Like, I've been wanting to watch that for a while just because I love this first movie so much, and I would like to watch a completed franchise. I don't just like to watch, one or two movies and then stop there. If it's 7 movies or 3 movies in this case, I do want to watch the third movie just to say to people I have seen the Urban Legends franchise. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, I really enjoyed this movie. I think it still holds up really well as a slasher film if you're here for the slasher tropes and the actual slasher elements of the whodunit story. Which is my personal favorite kind of slasher is the who done it, who's the killer, and it's a game of mystery and suspense. They are my favorite slashers. That's why I love movies like Scream. That's why I love movies like Scream and Valentine's. It's that mystery. Even though sometimes the killer reveal isn't great. It's that experience. I'm it could be this person because he did this at this point in his life, and then this happened, and just putting those puzzle pieces together for each character, and then just guessing to the end. To me, that's why I love movies like Valentine's, like Urban Legend, like Scream. It's that guessing, it's that suspense. I love that, but then on top of that, I also really like graphic and gory kills. So yeah, but yeah, I really like this movie and I think this is a great October slasher movie.